Welcome to the Connect2Metrics podcast. My name is Will Gladhart. I'm the president of market development at Connect2Metrics. We're a premier outfitter of growth and performance and analytics solutions. I'm here today with my guest, Kyle Danner. Kyle has been a part of every aspect of family businesses. He grew up and worked in a family business and own a business with his family. He also knows what it's like to leave the business and start a fresh chapter in life. He understands families and owners want to position their businesses for the future. That's why he started Solutions for Family Business. When everyone isn't on the same page, it's easy to feel like you don't have a grip on family business. As a professional EOS implementer, Kyle can help clarify, simplify, and achieve your vision to get more out of your family business. And you can find Kyle online at kyledanner.com or on LinkedIn. So good morning, Kyle, and welcome.
Thanks, Will. How are you this morning?
I'm very well, thanks. Just enjoying the spring and the sunshine for a change. Excellent. So our topic today, Kyle, is family business challenges. How to improve culture and engagement. And the reason that we're here today is to discuss the challenges family businesses are facing, the impact of company culture in the present new normal, and share tactics Kyle has learned as ways to lead during transitions and challenges. So let's dive into two additional questions I have for Kyle regarding the culture challenges facing family business and leadership tips he's going to share. So my first question, Kyle, is how do you put the right people in the right seats in a family business?
Will, when I hear this question, there's a quote from Brene Brown that really comes to mind, and it's clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And what's really important about this is that you've got to create clarity around, who is responsible or who is accountable for what function in the organization. And the process that I use for that is the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS. And one of the very first things we do is we go about creating the accountability chart. And so think about the accountability chart as your organizational chart on steroids. And so we go about defining the major functions for the organization, like sales and marketing, operations, finance, and then there's another function called the integrator that's responsible for driving those major functions. And then we go about defining what are the 5 major roles for each of those seats. And the purpose of that is really to kind of create that clarity about who's responsible for what functions in the business. And then we'll go about customizing a couple different ways, and then we go about putting people in those seats. And really what we're asking when we're putting people in those seats is, do they get it, want it, and can they do it? Do they truly understand the job? Do they get the job? Do they want the job? That is, do they get out of bed in the morning wanting to go do this work? And are they capable of doing it? Do they have the capacity, which means they have the skills, the resources, the knowledge, the experience to be able to really be great at their job? And as I'm describing this, probably what's coming to mind is that everybody knows their family businesses where maybe there's somebody who's not in the right seat. And so going through this process, then we also start having those hard conversations about, well, are they in the wrong seat? Do you have somebody who's really good in accounting, but they're in sales just because that's how they started the business when the business was in infancy? Or do you have somebody in the position because it was the easy thing to do at the moment? And so it's then we go about, trying to figure out, well, where do we find the best seat for family members and other employees in the organization? And so that's kind of the first step in putting people in the right seats, right people in the right seats.
Okay, so another question that comes to mind is, if you don't have the right people in the right seats, or you identify a gap, either in performance or leadership, but as an outside manager or professional management, the answer for a family business. I know you've had some experience with this.
I've had some painful experience with it, actually. I think one of the things is sometimes family businesses shortchange themselves because they made it up as they go along. which is quite true because a lot of times they don't have, let's say, the professional business background. And I've got professional business background in big, huge air quotes there. And so they start to look, as they grow, they start to think, oh, maybe it's time we need to bring in a corporate type to come in and help straighten us out. And we thought the same thing in my own family's business, and we even tried that a couple times. But the mistake is that an entrepreneurial operation like a family business, like so many family businesses, is very different from a large scale corporation. So not to say that a corporate manager could not be a good fit, but one of the things to consider is, what is their entrepreneurial background? What have they done maybe in a small or medium-sized business aspect that might be helpful, that could fit the culture? Because remember, you think about a lot of family businesses, a lot of smaller business, a lot of entrepreneurial operations, they're not as structured as you would have maybe like a large company or something like that. So you could very much easily have a culture misfit there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you could certainly have someone that is, doesn't understand the structure of the business, but also, isn't a fit per se in terms of their background, like you mentioned, but not being able to be flexible, agile, making decisions on the fly, a lot of those characteristics that go with a family and entrepreneurial business. So
Exactly.
those are some great insights. So, continue our discussion on how to lead through anxious times. Would you share a couple additional tips today about how owners can immediately implement those behaviors or practices? So the first would be, be open and honest.
Mm-hmm. There's be open and honest, question your first reaction. The other thing I encourage folks to do is to look back. This is not our first crisis. It feels different, but quite honestly, we've all been through crises. We've all been through difficulties before, whether it's things like other recessions, like the 2008 recession, or something political, like the 9/11 terrorist attacks, or something much more personal, like a divorce in the family or loss of a loved one. We've all been through crises. And so it's important to maybe step back and reflect on one of those past challenges. And so and to ask yourself, so what was the challenge that you faced? What lessons did you learn from it, and what skills did you acquire to be able to see yourself through that crisis? And also be honest, what mistakes did you make along the way? And then taking all of that learning and apply it to what we're currently facing. The problem is that those crises in the past, they felt very new at the time, but then we got through them, and so we kind of forget about them. Well, this feels very, you're absolutely right. And so then this current space feels, very new and very overwhelming, but we have the skills to get through it. It's just spending some time reflecting, how did we do it before?
Yeah, no, I love that, because it's that reflection piece. Even if you think about your life path, your entrepreneur path, your business path, the things that we implemented or reacted to in our 20s versus our 40s are extremely different. So keeping that in mind, and then also keeping that in mind from all space of the business, from not only the leader, but down to the junior individual who's in the company, and they're all managing this with different levels of experience. So I think that's a really sage piece of advice, and kind of pulling back from past experience. So, so do you have any final thoughts you'd like to leave with us today?
I would say, in kind of the crush of everything that's happening right now with the COVID-19 crisis, it's really hard to focus. And so maybe taking an hour or so, and one of the things I recommend folks do is sit down and just write whatever's on your mind. Take out a blank sheet of paper, or go into the conference room and put it on the whiteboard. Just kind of get it out. And don't worry about correct grammar or punctuation or complete sentences or anything. You're not writing the great American novel. Just getting it out of your head, so you park it, and then you can refocus on the important work. Whether ever go back to that list or what you wrote, that's irrelevant. What you wrote is irrelevant. It's really just kind of creating some space in your head so then you can get back to focusing on what you're really supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that's a fantastic suggestion and a great exercise. It's something that I use myself on a daily basis. I have my running list of like stuff I cannot get out of my head that needs
Yep.
to go somewhere, and it just goes onto my iPad, and I may revisit it, I may not. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't matter, but at least it's parked. And I love that it's just it can be gone. And it could be a great tool, like you mentioned on a whiteboard, it could be a great tool in a company for organizations to just create their own word cloud of, hey, here's like the few words that people are experiencing, share what is happening with you today. If you don't have the technology to do live polling or those other pieces, it could be a really good visual tool to help people understand that everybody's feeling like they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in our next session, in our final session, Kyle and I will be discussing how do you manage the divided loyalties between family and long-term employees, and then also why succession planning is so important, especially during this time of uncertainty. If you'd like to participate in one of our live poll questions, you can participate at bit.ly/culture think tank 2020 for the public anonymous poll. There are digital dashboards about culture and performance. And thank you again for your time today, Kyle. And I'm looking forward to the discussion on family business, performance, and leadership. I hope you have a great day.